Sometimes one look from someone feels heavier than anything they actually said. They're smiling. The conversation sounds normal, yet your chest tightens for reasons you cannot explain. You hold their gaze for a second, and suddenly eye contact feels less like connection. It starts feeling like a test, a warning, a demand, or something silently unresolved. You have probably felt this before, even if nobody ever gave it a proper name. That strange pressure is not just social awkwardness, and it is not your imagination. A lot of people assume uncomfortable eye contact simply means shyness, confidence, or attraction. But real human tension is messier, because the eyes often carry what words cannot manage. Sometimes pressure appears when someone wants closeness and fears it at the same time. Sometimes it shows up when they are hiding discomfort behind politeness or warmth. And sometimes your body catches the mismatch before your mind can explain anything. That is why one ordinary glance can feel strangely intense, even inside a simple conversation. You can feel it instantly when the eyes say stay, but the face says back off. Or when the eyes disappear right after a warm sentence lands a little too personally. That tiny break is often the first clue that something deeper just surfaced. What makes eye contact feel pressuring is usually not the look itself, but the conflict behind it. When someone is emotionally settled, their gaze tends to feel clear, even when it is strong. When they are split inside, their eyes can start pulling and pushing at once. That is when you stop feeling seen and start feeling managed, measured, or carefully handled. The pressure comes from mixed signals because your nervous system notices emotional contradiction fast. People miss this because they only listen to words, and words are usually the cleanest part. The eyes, the pause, the half smile, the tiny freeze, those are harder to control. And once you notice that, everyday interactions start looking less random and more revealing. You might have seen this with someone who agrees quickly, but their gaze lingers too long. Their words say easy, but their eyes say there is something else happening here. That something else could be caution, longing, resentment, shame, or a fear of being exposed. The exact emotion changes, but the pattern stays similar because conflict leaks through attention. Eyes do not just look, they negotiate distance, safety, honesty, and who holds power. That is why eye contact can feel comforting with one person and unbearable with another. It is not only about confidence levels, and it is not only about social skill. Sometimes the most intense eye contact comes from people trying very hard not to reveal themselves. And sometimes the quickest glance away comes from feeling too much, not too little. That reverses a common assumption because avoidance can mean overwhelm just as easily as disinterest. The interesting part is that pressure often appears exactly where someone wants to seem calm. So the more polished their words sound, the more valuable the tiny cracks become. Picture a conversation where someone asks how you are, then looks away during your real answer. That shift can happen the moment the interaction stops being scripted and becomes emotionally real. They wanted connection at a safe distance, but honesty asked for more than that. So their eyes leave first because the eyes often retreat before the mouth does. You may think they lost interest, yet the real issue may be emotional tolerance. Some people can handle information, but struggle to handle the feeling that arrives with it. That is why they can sound kind while their attention suddenly starts pulling backward. It is not always rejection, and that difference matters more than most people realize. Another familiar moment is when someone smiles after you speak, but the smile arrives late. That delay can reveal a private check happening underneath, like they are editing themselves first. Their face catches up, but their eyes briefly show the unedited reaction underneath. Maybe they felt threatened, flattered, unsure, embarrassed, or unexpectedly seen in that exact moment. The smile smooths the surface, but the eyes often expose the emotional first draft. And that first draft is usually where the truth briefly leaks out. Then there is the person who holds eye contact a little too steadily. Not relaxed, not warm, just fixed enough that you start feeling washed instead of met. That kind of gaze can come from control, insecurity, or the need to appear unaffected. They are not always trying to intimidate you, but they may be protecting themselves. If they look away, they fear exposure, so they stay locked in longer than natural. What feels intense to you may be their attempt to outrun vulnerability. That is why pressure can come from attraction and defense at the same time. Someone can want closeness, fear misreading it, and overcorrect through their eyes. You feel the contradiction because the body senses competing motives before language explains them. And that is where so much social confusion actually begins in everyday ordinary moments. You leave thinking something felt off, but you cannot prove anything concrete happened. You remember the sentence less than the sensation because the body archives tension faster than language. That is why small eye reactions can bother you long after the conversation supposedly ended. Nothing dramatic happened, yet something in you keeps saying there was more there. Usually that feeling comes from emotional mismatch, not from any single obvious gesture. Someone laughs, but their eyes stop participating for half a second too long. Someone thanks you warmly, then blinks hard as if the compliment landed somewhere sensitive. Someone says they are fine, but their gaze holds you like they want rescue. These moments feel small on the surface, yet they reshape the emotional meaning underneath. Once you notice enough of them, you start hearing silence almost as clearly as speech. A friend agrees with you too fast, then gives a strange pause before adding more. The quick agreement lowers tension on the surface, but the pause reveals unspoken resistance. Their eyes might stay on you during the yes, then drop during the truth. That sequence matters because timing often tells you more than the expression itself. People can fake a face for a moment, but timing is harder to script. A delayed look away, a pause after praise, a freeze before agreement, those count. They suggest an emotional traffic jam, where one part reacts before the social part catches up. That jam may mean discomfort, but discomfort does not always mean danger or rejection. It can mean they suddenly care how they are being seen by you. And people rarely stay smooth when something starts mattering more than expected. This is where eye contact stops being a social habit and becomes emotional data. Not perfect data, not mind reading, but clues about inner pressure and hidden effort. You are not decoding people like a machine. You are noticing where reality slips through. That slip often happens when words and eyes are trying to serve different goals. Words usually protect the social moment, while the eyes reveal the emotional cost. So when eye contact feels heavy, ask what effort might be happening underneath. Is this person trying not to show fear, need, irritation, attraction, or embarrassment? Pressure often appears where feeling is present, but permission to show it is missing. That mismatch creates tension, and tension almost always changes the eyes first. The face can keep performing, but the eyes start negotiating escape or control. This also explains why some people seem warm, yet their face goes cold suddenly. The warmth may be real, but another emotion enters and interrupts the flow. Maybe they felt exposed. Maybe they remembered something painful. Maybe they lost certainty. The coldness is not always about you, but you still feel its impact. Because the body reads sudden withdrawal as significance, even when no explanation follows. That is why subtle eye reactions can stay in your mind for hours afterward. Your brain keeps revisiting them because unfinished signals demand more attention than clear ones. Clarity lets the mind relax, but ambiguity keeps the door psychologically half open. And eye contact is one of the fastest ways humans create ambiguity. A single glance can suggest honesty, challenge, longing, discomfort, defensiveness, or all of them together. That complexity is exactly why you feel something before you fully understand it. You are not overthinking every time. Sometimes you are accurately sensing emotional friction. The mistake is assuming friction has only one meaning, because it never does. It could signal attraction with fear, politeness with resentment, warmth with caution, or confidence with strain. The deeper skill is not labeling people quickly, but noticing where their signals diverge. That divergence is often more honest than whatever sentence comes out next. So the next time eye contact feels oddly heavy, start by noticing the timing. Did the look change before the words, after the words, or during a pause? Timing tells you whether the emotion was immediate, edited, suppressed, or suddenly triggered. A person who glances away right after intimacy appears may be regulating, not rejecting. A person who stares just before answering may be bracing, not simply confident. That one detail can completely change how you read the entire interaction afterward. Next, Notice whether the eyes and face arrive together or arrive separately. When someone smiles but their eyes lag behind, something emotional needed extra management. When their eyes soften but the mouth stays controlled, they may feel more than shown. This mismatch does not hand you certainty, but it gives you a better question. Instead of asking what they said, ask what they were trying to manage. That question usually gets you closer to the emotional truths beneath the conversation. The third thing to notice is what happens right after the pressured moment passes. Do they over-explain, joke, change topics, step back, or suddenly become extra friendly? That recovery move often reveals which feeling they were trying to cover. People who feel exposed often rush to lighten the mood before anyone can look closer. People who feel ashamed may become agreeable, small, or unusually careful with their tone. People who feel attracted but uncertain may pull back, then return with extra warmth. You are not looking for one clue, you are looking for the pattern around it. One glance means little alone, but repeated mismatches start forming a much clearer picture. That picture tells you where someone feels safe, where they perform, and where they tighten. And once you see that, their behavior stops feeling random and starts feeling human. This matters in friendships, dating, work, family, and every space where words can hide. A meeting can look polite while someone's eyes show resistance long before their opinion does. A date can feel warm while both people are silently negotiating fear, desire, and self-protection. A friendship can stay intact for years while eye contact quietly carries unspoken hurt. And once you recognize that, you stop needing everything important to be spoken outright. The real takeaway is not to become suspicious, but to become more emotionally literate. Eye contact feels like pressure when emotion and expression stop moving together smoothly. That pressure is often the sensation of hidden effort meeting your awareness. You are sensing the moment someone is trying to hold themselves together in real time. And those moments matter because they reveal where people are most offended and most real. If you have noticed a moment like this, share it in the comments below. Novi Mind is here for the signals most people feel, but never fully understand. If this made something click for you, subscribe and stay close to the channel. Because the smallest reactions often carry the biggest truths once you know how to read them. And next time, we are getting into why some smiles feel kind yet strangely unsafe.